uh, we have a new episode for you. And I think this one's actually going to be two parts as well. So grateful that Boratha Tan came and joined me for the podcast. And so in this episode, we're going to talk about AI, data centers, and then also ethical responsibility. So AI and data centers are kind of a hot button thing right now, but I think they're really overshadowed, especially by some of the more pressing things that are going on right now in our country and the world. But we still want to shine a light on them because they're going to be this is going to be a significant impact on both social justice and environmental justice in the next several years. I mean, it's already having an impact, but we'll see it escalate a lot in the next few years. And so this is an important topic for us to really think about. And we talk about a little bit in this episode, the idea of knowledge is privilege. And so I think this is one of those episodes where sometimes people can get overwhelmed because you think, man, what can I do, right? Like, what can I do to make a difference in this? So this is a great time for you just to sit back and use this as an educational opportunity. So in this podcast, we're really trying to educate, validate, and inspire people. And so use this one to educate yourself. And we do talk at the end some small ways that people can begin making a difference in how AI affects not just social justice, but also environmental justice as well. So I hope that you enjoy this episode and that you'll share. We have a lot of new episodes coming down the pike very soon. And so, hey, enjoy it and share it with a friend. I thought maybe you'd share a little bit about your work history, because my understanding is you changed jobs and you're in this new area, and kind of like what provoked you wanting to go in this direction, because you have AI experience in you're working with AI stuff and data centers, right?
Correct.
Okay. So what are you doing?
Yep. I moved to Detroit in 2016 to work for Ford Motor Company.
Got it.
As an engineer. I was fortunate enough to bounce around to different teams. At Ford Motor Company, a lot of entry-level engineers can do that, and I ended up working on all the electric motors that goes into the EVs.
Oh, nice.
For the Ford vehicles. So that was really nice. Testing, prototyping, designing, all that good stuff. So it's pretty fun. And then the pandemic hit back in 2020, which does feel like a long time ago by now.
It does.
And unfortunately, I was essentially in the office, in the lab every day, or pulling very long hours constantly. And it began to feel as though I was a cog in this machine. It makes sense that companies like Ford were trying to make it through the pandemic,
right,
at the cost of the mental and physical health of their employees. So that was a big factor in my desire to shift away from that. And I ended up going to the University of Michigan to get a public policy master's.
Oh, nice.
And the particular reason why I wanted to do that was I thought to myself, well, there are a lot of people who take in political science or other soft sciences, if you will, who are in these very key political decision-making structures, like, say, local government or state government, even federal government. I thought to myself, we need some more technically minded folks there.
Mm-hmm.
Hence, me choosing public policy, I thought to myself, maybe I can use my engineering degree for the greater good. And in 2022, I've applied to a position that opened at a small nonprofit called Vote Solar, VOTE, not VOLT, even though it would be very punny if it was VOLT.
Right.
But it's neither here nor there. And I was accepted and offered a job as what we call a regulatory manager. My duties at Volt Solar is to write testimony in front of public utility commissions throughout the Midwest. Public utility commissions, public service commissions are very important because they are the ones that decide how much the electric companies and gas companies can raise our bills by.
Got it.
And also they dictate how much fossil fuel energy that they can use based on state law and things like that, and a lot of other smaller things. So they are a relatively opaque but very important body in the state government that unfortunately not a lot of people focus on.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I've been doing the last few years. Fighting DTE energy, fighting consumers energy.
We're glad somebody is fighting them on our behalf.
And, and of course, a lot of the discussions around data centers and artificial intelligence have been cropping up the last couple of years. And now we are seeing in real life these topics being discussed in front of the commission.
Got it.
So that's how I am neck deep in these discussions.
Yeah, I can see how that plays out. And I have so many questions. That's not related to AI and your work in that. So, but we'll stick with this for now.
Yes.
So let's just talk a little bit about AI, because I think for like the average person out there, they throw around the term, but they don't really know what they're saying. Like, so, and like I know, like I'm Terminator. I'm the Terminator generation. And I know you.
Yes, I've watched the Terminator.
Yeah, so
all of them.
I made my kids watch.
And I say RoboCop, but not until they're old enough to watch RoboCop.
Yeah, RoboCop for later, and then of course Space Odyssey, right?
Yes.
So we just talk a little bit, like just in general about AI, and then like I hear sometimes people use AI and Chat GPT interchangeably, but they're the same but not really, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you kind of talk about that.
Yep. The term artificial intelligence, putting aside how we use it today,
right.
A lot of people in the sciences, in the computer science and computer engineering side of things, have this grand definition of artificial intelligence. Essentially what you mentioned earlier, Terminator and Skynet in Terminator, HAL 9000 in 2001 Space Odyssey, even iRobot, not just the book, but also that movie from 2005, 2006 with Will Smith. Yeah. That's what a lot of the more technical individuals like to think of artificial intelligence. So very sophisticated programs, machines that can make their own judgments and have a lot of autonomy. And there are a lot of various details that go into that definition as well. Like, for example, self-preservation is what some people like to categorize as true artificial intelligence. In society today, when we talk about artificial intelligence, we're talking about something I would roughly call something dumber. These programs that we call AI, a lot of people dub these dumber AI as what we call large language models or language learning models. You might have heard of that term before, or the acronym LLM. And these programs, the way that they respond to people, when you think of something like a ChatGPT, is that these programs are consistently reading and analyzing a bunch of different texts, whether it's a PDF of a movie script or a PDF of a book, or just having ChatGPT log on to New York Times and just reading all of the articles on New York Times and analyzing it. That's what these we call AI today. That's what they do. And to kind of just dig a little bit deeper into that, these language learning models, they analyze these words and languages and sentences and paragraphs and essays and papers and books by quantifying them into numbers and essentially turning them into probability equations.
Got it.
So you're turning words into numbers, which is a crazy thing if you think about it. And when you go on to ChatGPT and start asking questions or providing prompts, it turns those questions and prompts into numbers as well. And then it has this very sophisticated advanced equation that it develops and learns by itself, and then it gives you the answer. So that's essentially how ChatGPT and other language learning models are responding to us. It's essentially a bunch of math problems in the back.
Right. Yeah, they're not really learning. They're just doing probability math. And
yes, very advanced probability math. And you might hear the term that you have AI scientists who are actually sitting in front of a computer and telling the model whether or not the answer is correct. So essentially, there is a human being that's actually also guiding these language learning models like ChatGPT. That's why occasionally you hear online on the news that, oh, ChatGPT got it wrong, or Meta's language learning model got something wrong. It's because these all of these math solutions, it's all just the program picking out words and putting them together and then answering it for you.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh yeah, if you're using probability, then there's always a small chance that it's incorrect, and you need someone to train it to say, they'll do that over again.
Right, because it's probability.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah, right.
It's all math.
Because, and I have noticed that there's always that little asterisk, which we can discuss later. If you know how to turn off AI in Google, let me know. So I have not figured it out yet. Mostly because when I Google it, Google doesn't want me to figure out how to turn it off.
Oh, yes, yeah.
So ChatGPT is just basically one version of AI. It's like not version, it's a
different program.
It's a program. There you go. Got it. Okay. So there are benefits to AI. So before we get into the disadvantages and some of the damage it's causing, what are like the advantages of AI for us today?
The first benefit I would like to describe as kind of a broad one, where it helps us increase our productivity of work. For example, in the work that I do at Boat Solar, if we were to talk about DTE wanting to raise our electric bills this year, the electric company has a bunch of engineers and accountants who write hundreds of pages to explain the technical aspects of the grid and how much it costs for them to maintain the grid and upgrade the grid.
Got it.
You can imagine all of that adds up to thousands and thousands of pages. Something that my boss does in a limited scope with ChatGPT is that he has the software download a couple of engineers' testimony, not all of them, and just asks ChatGPT to summarize it for him. That is very helpful because it saves us some time, and especially when we talk about rate increases in Michigan from start to finish, from when the utility submits all of their explanations and all of their papers until when the commission says yes or no, that's a 10-month span. 10 months may seem a lot. Unfortunately, if you have 2,000 plus pages
to
read from the electric company, as well as other individuals who might want to fight DTE or support DTE, you have to read all of their pages as well, which amounts to another 1,000 plus pages.
Right.
So any assistance there to help us be more productive, that is very helpful.
So kind of like digital cliff notes in a way.
Exactly, yes.
Yeah.
On the fly cliff notes, especially for very technical things like talking about the poles and the wires and things like that. So that's just one example.
Yeah.
of how it helps with work. I like to joke around too, assuming that Father Gary was here, but he's not. But if he needed any help with picking up of ideas for his homily, ChatGPT could be helpful there as well. Um, so any of these soft work, if you will, versus hard work, such as actually digging a hole to plant a tree or something like that. Of course, right. ChatGPT can't do, but all of these soft skills, ChatGPT and other language learning models like Google's Gemini can help out. So those are the main benefits that I see with what we call AI right now.
All right. So we know that there are disadvantages, and I know there are disadvantages. People might not realize that how many disadvantages and what it's doing to the environment. I don't think they do. But every time I see somebody post a little thing on Facebook, my inside scream, no, how much water does this cost? Anyway, so because you're part of our green team? No.
Unofficially, I am part of the green team.
But you're on the inclusion committee. Sorry,
no, it's totally fine. I am.
I get everybody mixed up.
Which I would recommend any parishioners listening that they join as many of our committees as they can.
Yes, you can be on both, or I'll just volunteer you for both in a video.
Yep.
So we talk about disadvantages, but specifically from the environmental aspect. Well, I guess from the social justice aspect is what I'm thinking of.
Mm-hmm. Let's split it into two, social justice and then environmental specific.
Yeah, let's do that.
In terms of social justice, the first thing is that from a legal standpoint, unfortunately, the companies that own these programs, like ChatGPT or Google with Gemini, is that most of the things that you ask the program, and if you ask it to download certain files, all of that is now owned by the company. Mm. So you're essentially losing most of your rights with anything that you input into these programs. So these privacy and ownership concerns are definitely there. And when we look at that specifically, I like to always point to SAG-AFTRA over out in the West Coast, the union that is representing all of the employees and workers and writers in Hollywood.
Yeah.
One of the biggest issues that they had, and the reason why they had this long strike, was because they did not want artificial intelligence to take away their jobs. You could only imagine if I was a greedy director, I could just take all of the old movie scripts of a specific genre, say, for example, science fiction movies, and I plug it into ChatGPT, and I ask it to provide me with 5 different types of scripts.
Right.
You can only imagine the type of, the amount of people who are now out of their jobs from the writing aspect of it and the editing aspect of it. Unfortunately, these language learning models are also getting more advanced in creating short videos. I have unfortunately seen a lot of my friends post clips of here's X prompt that I asked ChatGPT to do, and asked it for a 10-minute video of this prompt, and it came out looking very realistic.
Yeah.
All of the people who are working the cameras, working the boom mics, all of the producers and the stagehands that would make a real life movie would also lose their jobs as well. Yeah. So the inherent dignity of work is now in question with how sophisticated these programs are.
Can we go back to the Hollywood thing too? Because I just saw an article this week that Denmark is, I don't know if they've officially made it or if they're moving towards this, where you can copyright your face.
Oh, fascinating. Okay, that would help with the protections around
that.
Yes.
So, and because it's that kind of a thing, right? Where people can just take your face now and do whatever, and they're taking some women and children's faces and putting them on digital bodies, and
Yes.
yeah,
and we could talk about actors and actresses who would lose their jobs there, but also from just a safety standpoint. What if, for example, there is an authoritarian regime who's trying to deport countless people, and if they have access to Facebook or other social media pages, they can just easily download those photos and teach a language learning model to recognize those faces, not to just implant it into new things, but to also figure out where people are at that moment.
Right.
So, the safety issues there too are important.
Did you watch Person of Interest when it was on?
No,
Okay.
Unfortunately, no. It was too scary for me growing up. I remember that.
It's scary to me. It's scary to me when I watch it in real time. But it's great, and a lot of it is this kind of stuff. They created this computer that could,
Yeah. So, I know that a lot of we're going off track now.
I know, yeah.
I do remember in various, detective TV series and things when they would look at a picture or a grainy video and they say enhance or have the computer enhance, and we know in real life until very recently you can't do that because you'll just see little square pixel colors.
Right.
But unfortunately nowadays, if you pay for a really expensive subscription to ChatGPT or other programs, they can actually enhance the high definition of videos and photos now too. So, yeah.
It's crazy.
The advancement of technology has one must also consider the social consequences of these advancements.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And, I always love mentioning our new Pope. Some folks may know that we both graduated from Villanova University.
Ah, I see you have your shirt on.
Yes.
You're representing today.
And and they are run by the Augustinian order, and he's an Augustinian, so I'm like, a lot of connections there. But in his first week of becoming Pope, he did mention the importance of addressing this AI revolution, this AI age, and specifically the social justice aspects of this evolving technology. And that's something that we all, I think, must consider as well, as well as the environmental concerns that come with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk about that, because I've been reading some articles on data centers, and I think data centers are one of those things that get downplayed and don't get talked about much. And now I have heard some positive things where they're taking old coal plants and converting them. So in some ways, this is good in the sense of rather than just letting this facility crumble, you're repurposing it, that kind of stuff.
Correct.
But let's talk about what are data centers, what are they used for, what's their purpose, and then what are they doing to the environment?
Data centers are essentially twofold. On one aspect, they are the brains of the language learning model. So ChatGPT, there are many data centers out in the world that store all of the information and do all of the advanced calculations that we mentioned earlier. If you use the cloud in any way, like for example, if you have an iPhone and you have the Apple Cloud, data centers also store all of your pictures and documents and all of that thing. The same with Google as well.
And Microsoft Cloud.
And Microsoft Cloud, Microsoft Office, Amazon Workspace. Amazon Workspace is by far the largest in terms of their cloud, which means that they, for now, have the most data centers also. And you can imagine Meta or Facebook also has their own. Twitter has their own as well. So you can imagine these large technology companies owning a bunch of data centers throughout the country and throughout
Yeah.
the world. When we look at the actual usage of them, even within the last 2 years, there have been various estimates on the amount of energy and water they use, primarily because there's always new information coming out, whether it's, oh, this new data center came out and it's using a much different level of water and level of energy than other ones, so we have to update our systems. Unfortunately, we are starting to see companies talk about super data centers.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah, you could imagine, a Walmart store versus a Walmart superstore,
right.
what that means for data centers. So let's break it down very quickly.
Okay.
If we look at water usage, the University of Tulsa, Oklahoma, they have an estimate out that just one data center on average uses 5 million gallons of water a day.
Okay, wait, can we back up?
Yes.
What do they use the water for?
To cool it.
Got it. Okay.
You can imagine when your computer is running.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people hear the fan just spinning very hard. Instead of fans, data centers just have water put into pipes to cool everything down, so they're constantly running.
Okay.
And we can get into a little bit of the specifics later on, if any is reusable afterwards or things like that. If we look at ChatGPT in terms of water use, globally, every day, ChatGPT, all of the data centers that power ChatGPT, use 39.2 million gallons of water. In 1 month, that is about 1.2 billion gallons. And that is equivalent to 1,780 Olympic-sized pools. And you could give everyone on the planet 2 glasses of water with that amount of water that ChatGPT uses in 1 month.
Every person can get 16 ounces of water.
Yes.
And this is per month?
Per month. Just with ChatGPT alone. We're not talking about Google's AI or Microsoft's AI.
This is just
ChatGPT.
Oh, my word. That's a lot of water.
Yes. So you can imagine, that average that the University of Tulsa, Oklahoma has probably accounts for a decent amount of the smaller, or the other companies that have a smaller number of data centers for their AI or for their data storage. Sticking with ChatGPT, if we look at the energy use, one day, all of ChatGPT uses about 40 million kilowatt hours. It's a little bit hard to understand what that means. It sounds like a big number. It's equivalent to charging 8 million cell phones or running the Empire State Building in New York City for 540 days straight.
So 2 years, almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years, yes. An entire building. And then we want to break it down to 1 week. It's about 280-ish million kilowatt hours. And all of that energy for that 1 week could be used for 4 Super Bowls for the NFL. Not just a stadium, but also powering all of the TVs at home and all of the travel that people would use to get to the Super Bowl and back home.
In 1 week?
That amount of energy in 1 week for just ChatGPT alone. So if you think about it in 1 month, it's 1.2 billion kilowatt hours. Have you been to Times Square before?
I have. Not at night, but I have.
Not at night? Okay. But those billboards weren't all the time, right? In 1 month of usage for ChatGPT, that same amount of energy could be used to power Times Square billboards, all of them, for 20 years straight. 20 years, wow. Or, if you think about it another way, talking about EVs earlier, it can charge up from 0 to full about 332,000 electric vehicles. So that is 1 month of usage. And then let's expand it out a little more. For 1 year of usage, it's about 14.5 billion kilowatt hours. The same amount of energy for a whole year for 117 different countries in the world. These countries are mostly in the global south, half of Europe, and most of South and Southeast Asia, and Oceania. So ignoring a little bit part of Europe, ignoring the United States and Canada and Mexico, but almost everywhere else, 117 different countries, is equivalent to just running ChatGPT for 1 year. So that's the amount of water and energy specifically, that just ChatGPT alone uses up.
And is any of this? Well, we can get into that part because we're going to talk about how can we fix some of this stuff. But I forgot the question I was going to ask you. But
no problem.
It'll come back. It'll come back.
These numbers, when put into perspective, are pretty astounding.
Yeah, I mean, this is one. This is one. This is not also. This is not metaverse. This is not Twitter.
This is not Google.
Meta. What are we calling it now?
Meta, Facebook.
It's Meta, Facebook, whatever. I don't know. They've changed their names. I've been reading about the other metaverse, like the real metaverse.
Oh.
The scientific one.
Yeah.
So I'm confused at what I'm talking about. What is real and what is not real anymore? I don't know. Okay, so this is what I was thinking about of the. Oh, now it's gone again. Let's just go to the next question.
Yep. And then we can come back to it later.
We can come back to this one. Okay, so let's talk about what are some eco-friendly options. Oh, I know what I was thinking, because so now this was before me, but I've seen in history books anyway, pictures of computers, right, that were, the size of whatever.
Huge filing cabinets.
Humongous, yeah. Right? And then of course, even from when they first came out with the flash drives, right? They were megabytes.
Mm-hmm.
And now you can get this little tiny flash drive that has whatever.
120 gigabytes.
Something like that, yeah right? And so I guess one of my thoughts is this one of those things where as technology grows, we'll be able to downsize it, or are we just kind of stuck like this for a while?
I would say that when data centers are becoming more efficient at answering your questions, at turning these words into numbers and doing these statistical, mathematical equations, unfortunately, these companies are expecting that as well and are constantly increasing their footprint in order to maximize their data centers and their AI use. So even though, say, for example, ChatGPT last year could answer a question in 10 seconds, and this year they could answer the question in 5 seconds with the same, one block of a huge data center, the company that owns ChatGPT will still want to buy the next block and build another one, because unfortunately for them, in their perspective, they can increase their business, they can make more money. Oh, we're becoming more efficient. That means that not only are we capturing new customers who are coming from Microsoft or Google, let's keep on building because we're going to keep on making more money.
Right.
So what I'm essentially saying is that profits are, for now, driving this energy and water and environmental usage, even though we know that technology is helping us become more efficient. So
basically, the greed of more profits is growing faster than we can keep up with the technology to make it more efficient.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are the options that we have? Can we start with just some in general economic friendly options, and then can we talk about, and then we'll get into what we could do as individuals
From a broad policy societal perspective, we know that data centers and artificial intelligence, we can't undo any of that anymore. It's so ingrained in our daily lives. So one of the solutions is to make these data centers use renewable energy. Unfortunately, there are in some states, like Indiana, data centers and AI companies are connecting their data centers to coal plants and letting them stay as coal plants.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
So not only are these coal plants continuing and, feeding data centers, they're still emitting harmful emissions to the earth and to communities that are downwind who are suffering from the health effects of coal plants. We also need to make sure that we talk to our state, local, and federal lawmakers in saying that we care for the environment, we care for our neighbors, and we want data centers to also care about those communities as well, and for the whole world. For example, there have been some reports out that because Google has been pushing very hard to increase their AI footprint, they are backing away from all of their environmental goals and underreporting all of the emissions that their data centers are using. So making sure that we try our best to have our lawmakers, our representatives represent us and holding these companies accountable to make sure that they also care for the planet, care for creation, and care for us. From my line of work, I've seen the numbers. Building renewable energy is still cheaper than keeping coal plants alive. Even transforming coal plants into much cleaner energy, like once a coal plant closes, put a bunch of batteries on there, put a bunch of solar on there, transforming existing sites is also cheaper than keeping a coal plant running.
Wow.
So it's undeniable that renewable energy has an economic argument to it. But in terms of timelines, if a coal plant is running, you just keep it running. You just hook it up to a data center rather than stopping the whole operation and then taking the time to put in new stuff. So that's the larger goal here. In terms of the individual, definitely I would say the first thing is use ChatGPT less.
Stop making AI videos of your cat jumping into a swimming pool.
Yeah. Or, say a prayer. Say a prayer for creation. Say a prayer, about the environment before you press enter. After when you're typing out a question for ChatGPT or other AI software. And especially too, being prayerful about the potential dignity of work that we talked about earlier. And especially if you know that there are other unions or other groups of people who are fighting to make sure that their work is not stolen by AI, that if an artist that you see on Instagram that you follow is letting everyone know that some of their art was stolen by ChatGPT, perhaps you work with them, text them, and ask them, what are ways to support. And I hope some of these like individual interactions with people who are negatively affected by AI would help us kind of shift our perspective about where AI belongs in our lives, not just for entertainment purposes, but we think about some of the more serious things. And another helpful thing that ChatGPT or other AI models could do is, say, for example, you have researchers who are researching cancer and are unfamiliar with research from another state or another country. You can have ChatGPT help you do that research and hopefully get closer to a solution for cancer.
Right. And it helps diagnose some of these more rare illnesses for people that, like you said, there's been 10 cases in another country, but none here, then you can add that into your data search.
Yeah. So ChatGPT has its purposes. How can we as individuals reimagine how AI fits into our lives and whether or not it helps our communities around us.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot, and there's a lot of spider webs that come off of this, like just things you were talking about. Like I know that the the electric companies are fighting solar power, right? Because they lose profits, and solar powers would help with reducing the footprint for data centers and stuff like that. So, um, and then of course the poor and marginalized get hit the worst,
Right.
because they're the ones who um, suffer from. I know there's several stories out there about decreased water pressure for people because of the data centers when they live close by, or uh, the water being undrinkable now.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah.
And you can imagine as well the excuse me. You can imagine the wildlife that is near a data center, especially when you look at the water. For data centers that recycle the water that they use, oftentimes when they put the water back out into, say, a river that they're next to, it's always multiple degrees higher still than when it entered the data center. So you can only imagine the fish and the plants that used to thrive under certain conditions, certain temperatures of the water.
Oh, the temperature of the water's hotter.
The temperature of the water is hotter. It's a lot harder for them to live in. And you can imagine we're having issues of algae blooms in the Great Lakes, correct?
Yeah.
You can only imagine the algae devastation that could happen in local wildlife.
Right. Well, the warmer the water, the more bacteria.
Yep. And the worse it is for the global warming effect as well. Mm-hmm. It only makes it hotter and traps in even more radiation from the sun. Yes. So all of this, unfortunately, cycles on itself.
Yeah.
And we have to be aware of that. I know that in Indiana, for example, going back to the data usage, there are, I believe, 5 proposed super data centers.
5 in one state?
In Indiana, yes.
Oh, my word.
If those 5 data centers were to be built today, they would use more energy than what the state is currently making. Just 5.
Oh my gosh! And not only that, I think about Indiana is a lot of cornfields, which normally I'm joking about it, but what, like just in water alone, what would that do to farms in that area?
They might have to build a pipe to the Great Lakes. As much as I like to joke, I think that might have to be a necessity. I know a few years ago, I believe there was a joke that the mayors in Los Angeles and some cities here in the Midwest were joking about creating a pipeline from the Great Lakes to LA for their water shortage.
Oh, yeah.
I think, yes, because of the importance of caring for our rural neighbors and caring for our farmers, where else are we going to get that water?
Right.
Unfortunately, Indiana does not have as strict requirements to build out solar and wind. Indiana actually does have a decent amount of wind, especially when you drive towards Purdue.
Yes, they do.
A lot of cool wind turbines there. But the majority of their energy still comes from coal.
Wow.
So you can imagine coal still feeding into the data centers, and they have to run more often and, all the time. All of those emissions, all of the smoke and the debris that comes out, and all of the coal ash that gets left behind that have to be buried somewhere. The rapid need for energy means that all of those emissions and all of the coal ash will only compound on itself.
Yeah.
Which makes it worse for farmers and our food crops, because where are you going to put all of those coal ash? You might have to dig more landfills, put the coal ash in. All of the extra particulates that come from the coal plants would rain down on Indiana and Michigan and Ohio. What about those farmers there?
Right.
Their land would be negatively affected. All of us living here, we would have to breathe that in.
And how does that then also affect global warming and
Exactly.
weather patterns and
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Environmental health and the environment and our health are very tied in with each other.
So this really is going to have to be a key issue over these the next 5-10 years that we have to aggressively address this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being at St. Peter and Paul, we are fortunate enough to house the Pope Francis Center. And I think the Pope Francis Center is a perfect example of so many people in our society and our communities today struggling to survive day by day.
Mm.
And it makes sense that they're just trying to figure out, okay, when can I get to my second job or third job so that I can just get this paycheck to pay the bills and have enough left over to feed my kids.
Right.
And praying to God that my car won't break down.
Right.
All of these other societal issues also are important to solve. So you can imagine so many people today here, especially in the US, they unfortunately don't have the time to realize the issues and the big problem that AI and data centers have in front of us right now.
Right. But for those of us who do have the privilege, right? I mean, because this is what we're talking about.
Yes.
Knowledge is a privilege.
Yes.
And to have the privilege, we have to be responsible to attack some of these issues. Because how can we who have the privilege of all this knowledge use it to, make a change?
Call our representatives to make sure that they know that data centers and AI are big issues for us, not just from an environmental standpoint, but also societal standpoint, and how it does have large repercussions for our communities. And also, in the words of Pope Francis and Pope Leo, we need to have an ecological transformation.
Oh gosh, yeah.
And being more in tune and in touch with all of creation. Translations of Genesis, some say, in some of these translations, that humans have dominion over the earth. I prefer Francis's translation of having stewardship.
Yes, yeah. That would be
us in God's image.
Yeah.
But God also created all of the birds and all of the trees and everything else. And who are we to destroy the earth as part of creation?
No, we're supposed to steward it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, anything else? Because, this is one of those topics where I know a very surface level. And so is there anything I just wouldn't have thought to ask that you wanted to, or something that you'd I really feel like people need to know this, or I wanted to share it?
One thing that would dive a little bit into my work is that I do want you and everyone else listening to think about all of the necessary upgrades the grid would need if, say, a data center were to be replacing the St. Peter and Paul parking lot.
Mm.
All of the crazy electrical cables and wires and substations that would need to come in to feed the data center. The way that electric companies create a bill for you and me is that each of these line items essentially socialize the cost of upgrading the grid and maintaining the grid. If a data center comes in, as it stands today, a data center could argue that, we're coming into St. Peter and Paul's neighborhood, DTE has to upgrade the grid. It's not just for us, but it's also for the benefit of the community nearby. Therefore, we need to raise St. Peter and Paul's bill by another $1,000 a month. And we need to raise your bills by another $500 a month and my bill by another $500 a month. So, and all of this to serve just a data center.
Right.
So, not just from a theological argument, but also from a practical standpoint, data centers are going to increase everyone's bills. We think that it might be free if we just, go onto Google and play around with their Gemini AI. But unfortunately, someone from Arizona is paying for it. Someone from California is paying for it through their bills.
Right.
And they don't know why.
In Indiana.
And Indiana. And Virginia.
And typically poor communities.
Yes.
Lower income communities.
Yeah. Most of these costs would be fixed charges. It can also mix into some of these variable charges that goes. We don't want to get into how exactly.
Nobody knows how to read their electric bill.
Yeah. I struggle sometimes with reading my bill too. But yes,
we all feel better now.
All of it goes into our bills, or will go into our bill if ChatGPT decides to put a data center next to St. Peter and Paul in the parking lot. And that only makes it less tenable for us to make it month by month the guests of the Pope Francis Center, right? All of this trickles down. The consequences are spread out to everyone, and people in disadvantaged situations are only going to bear the brunt even more.
Wow.
I'm sorry to end it on a bad note.
I know. we should tell some happy story.
Well, I'm very hopeful that, Pope Leo, he has made it very clear that in the same vein as Pope Leo XIII, when Pope Leo XIII wrote Rerum Novarum on the dignity of work and dignity for workers, that I'm very hopeful that Pope Leo also has a lot of technical experts and theological experts to help him wade into this murky water of AI, not just from a dignity of work perspective, but also this environmental perspective, the social perspective of how data centers is deeply connected to greed and pollution.
Yeah.